Welcome to Chiropad TV. This is Dr. Paul Bindell, President of Life Systems Software. It is with great pleasure that we provide you with this segment of our video training series for the ChiroSuite program. This presentation is going to discuss the transaction screen. There are two ways of reaching the transaction screen. The first is to open the patient's account, and then once the account is open, then simply come to the cash register on the left and click on Transactions. This brings you straight into the transaction screen. However, it does not automatically enter any information. The second means of entering the transaction screen is after the patient has been signed in. Then as we sign out the patient, we will be brought straight to the transaction screen if the patient already has another appointment scheduled. If there was no appointment scheduled, you would have been brought straight to the appointment scheduler and then into the transaction screen. Also, when you are entering the transaction screen by checking out the patient, if the system is set to auto checkout macro of Chiropad, then it automatically enters the services for today as you have documented them in your Chiropad notes. To review the items that are on this screen, starting at the upper left, we have the Save icon, or the Update All Changes icon. It looks like a little floppy disk to some, others say it's an old-time radio, and some talk about it being a miniature television. Whichever you call it, it is necessary to click on this when you are finished with any entries on this screen. To the right of that is a printer icon. For those patients that are not set to automatically receive a receipt, but request one at the time of service, prior to clicking on the Save icon, you'd be able to click on the Print Receipt icon and print out a receipt for the patient for today. The auto checkout macro is set in Tools, Settings, and Front Desk. And over here you would determine which macro you want it to use. Chiropad Plan means that it will enter the services for today based upon what you have entered in your notes. Chiro Office Plan will enter the charges for today based upon what you had on your appointment schedule, which may not necessarily be the services that you've actually provided. Front Desk Wizard will compare the Chiro Office Plan and the Chiropad Plan. If they are in agreement, it will automatically enter the services for today. And if they disagree, it will give you a warning note. Most of the time, you would want this set to Chiropad Plan. When we are back on the transaction screen, you will notice that there is an area for a discount. In order to enter the discount amount in this box, you would first go into Patient Information, click on the Financial tab, and then enter the specific percentage or dollar amount that should be applied for the discount. When you enter the amount here, then whatever you enter will then be something that appears for the patient's discount. To show you what that would look like, we would save this change. To make sure that it has taken completely, I'm going to close the patient and then check out the patient once again. Now you will see that the discount appears in the box. In order to enter this discount in the transaction for today, we would simply click on the red tag and that patient courtesy discount is automatically entered. The TOSR button would apply to very specific charges. In other words, let's say that you were charging normally $350 for a pair of orthotics. However, there are some patients on some occasions where you want to give a $50 discount so that the charge will only be $300. If you have entered in Tools, Catalogs, Procedure, and then find the orthotics, then you would be able to enter the TOSR discount amount. In this case, since we are billing for each orthotic, the right and left separately, it would be $25 for each orthotic. We would save that change, and then when we close out of that screen and then enter the charge for that item, we would then be able to click on the TOSR button, and that would automatically enter the time of service reduction. To the right of the TOSR button, we have the next appointment scheduled. To the right of that, we have the amount that your front desk should be collecting from the patient right now. The copay is based upon how much the patient's insurance card says you should be collecting from the patient right now. The patient amount is the amount that was rejected by the insurance company since the patient's last visit in the office. In other words, it is the amount that has been transferred from insurance responsibility into the patient column. And to the left of that is the previous amount. In other words, how much the patient should have paid on the last visit, but did not. The system then adds up those three numbers and tells you that this is the amount you should be collecting from the patient right now. Keep in mind that depending upon the insurance settings and the agreements that you have with the patient, the amount that is due to be collected right now may not necessarily agree with the full patient balance. Below that, let's say that you had made mistakes here and you needed to fix it by clearing the receipt. You have a button where just by clicking on it, it clears the receipt completely. To the left of that, you have the SALT button. SALT means same as last time, and when you click on that, it enters the charges for today, identical to the charges as were on the last visit. To the left of that, you have a button that says All Future Appointments. When you click on this button, it brings up a list of all the appointments that the patient has. By going up to the top of the screen, you will be able to just click on the print icon, print this out, hand it to the patient, and that way the patient has a written commitment to be in your office on each of these dates. To the left of that, you will see a tab that says Current Diagnosis. By clicking on this tab, you will be able to see the current diagnoses for this particular patient in the line sequence that corresponds to the box number sequence for the HCFA form. When you go back into the Transactions tab, you also have a column for diagnosis relationship. So, for example, if the spinal manipulative therapy is related to line item number 3 of the diagnosis, then you would simply put the number 3 diagnosis relationship column. You would then put the other diagnosis codes in whatever appropriate sequence you need in the other areas. This way you can tag the diagnosis codes on the HCFA forms so that you will get the maximum reimbursement from the insurance carrier. Specifically, the difference is that if you apply all diagnoses to all your services, then the insurance carrier will bundle all your services into one package and pay according to the lowest benefit possible. Currently, the way the insurance industry is set up, when you tag each diagnosis to a different code, then the insurance company will pay for the adjustment or spinal manipulation according to the chiropractic or spinal manipulation benefit, and they will pay for the other services according to the physical therapy benefit. Many times, the adjustment restriction is only between 8 and 15 visits for the year, whereas the physical therapy restriction is for any place between 50, that's 50, and 80 visits per year. Going to the left of that, there is a tab for on-demand macros. However, for those of you that are using both ChiroPad and ChiroOffice, the on-demand macros cease to be necessary. For those not using ChiroPad, you would be able to go into Tools, Catalogs, Procedures, Treatment Plan, create a treatment plan that has multiple items in it, create a treatment plan that contains multiple items, and then when you have saved that and return to the transaction screen, by selecting that particular item and clicking on Apply, that automatically fills in all of those particular services. At the bottom of this screen, you will see a check mark for Suppress Visitometer for this receipt. In the event that you are selling something to the patient, such as orthotics and or nutrition supplements or something else, for which you do not want that particular visit to count towards the insurance or diagnosis count for the patient, you would simply put a check in this box and the counters will ignore that particular charge. Most of the time, however, this will not be checked. Beneath that, you will see a column that talks about the active insurance carriers. If this patient had more than one insurance carrier, you would find that that information is all listed here. The billing code for this screen, not for any place else. Each carrier will be given a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that number will correspond to the B column on the transaction list itself. The A column is whether or not you have an assignment. Y means yes, N means no. Again, this will correspond to the A column on the transaction screen. The deductible amount will have been entered in the patient's insurance policy area. Go to the insurance policy screen. You will be able to enter how much there is of a deductible. As long as there is something remaining, then that deductible amount will show, and the charges for the patient will automatically be moved from the insurance responsibility into the patient's responsibility. A word to the wise: if you are 100% sure that the patient is going to be meeting their deductible in your office, then fill in how much of the deductible is remaining. However, if there is any doubt in your mind, in other words, if the patient is going to be seeing other healthcare providers and meeting the deductible in other offices, to minimize the number of bookkeeping entries, leave this remaining amount set to 0 and make the adjustment when the payment or rejection notice arrives from the insurance carrier. The copay is also going to be entered in the insurance policy area, and that copay can be entered as either a dollar amount or a percentage, and whatever the amount happens to be. Copay will show up then in the copay box over here for front desk collections, as well as in the copay box on this insurance summary screen. To the right of that, you will see a financial summary of the patient's account. How much is due from the patient, how much is due from the insurance company, and what is the combined total. Underneath that, you will note the digital travel card message. This is a message that the doctor would enter in the treatment plan area of ChiroPad, and it is important that you check this on every visit. It could be as simple as get the new phone number. It could be as serious as hold the children hostage till they pay the bill, or any other message that is necessary for the doctor to communicate with you specifically about this patient. To the right of that, there is the capture signature area. If you have chosen to get the signature pad, then as the patient signs out of the office, they are signing a statement that you create in Tools, Settings, Front Desk, and here where it says Message Displayed During Digital Charge Verification, you can have, by signing, you agree that the above services were provided to you on the date specified, or anything else that you would like to have in this particular box. Once that has been entered and the patient has signed on that pad, similar to the charge pads that you would find in Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Home Depot, and other stores, this signature will then be embedded into the transaction so that you will have an electronic proof of the patient having been in your office on this specific date. Once you are finished with all the entries on this specific screen, always remember to check on the Update or Save Changes icon. If you have a discount entered, the system will automatically remind you that you must enter a discount or change the discount amount to 0. By entering that discount, you can then save the changes and you are finished with this particular patient. Because we made changes to the insurance carrier, before the system closes the patient, it's verifying that we should save the changes to the insurance company as well. Once we've saved the changes, we're back on the front desk screen and ready for the next patient. Thank you for watching this training video. Should you have additional questions that were not answered here, please contact support@chiropad.com or call us at 973-625-3716. We will do everything we can to make sure that you get the maximum benefit from using the ChiroSuite programs.